Hi, everyone, and welcome to Backstage with Angelo. This is another episode of the edition of Beauty Queens that I want you guys to know and to get to know better as a person and as beauty queens. Today, I have someone very special for me because she's a good friend, someone I know from a while ago. She's the CEO and founder of Canadian Beauties. She's a pageant coach. She is also, I'm reading, judge and MC. She's pageant director for Calgary Pageants, and she is academy director and modeling instructor of Patty Falconer Agency, and is no one more than Mrs. Universe Canada 2019, Lisa Harrigan. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, so nice to be with you today.
Me too. It's an honor. It's actually an honor, and it's been a while.
It has. It's about time we catch up.
Definitely. Last time I think we met at a cafe in Kensington, and then in Miss Earth Canada.
Oh yes, that's right. That's right.
2019. So it's really have to have you. It's really nice to have you here with me again. So Lisa, what have you been up to?
Well, a lot and very little at the same time. I mean, I think everyone around the world collectively kind of experienced the exact same 2020 year. I mean, we all wanted to push forward our goals, and we all had to recreate what we envisioned for our years and be spontaneous and learn to live in the moment.
Definitely, it's been really hard with COVID going on and people, in the lockdown. So yeah, it's really hard with pageants right now. How is that going for you? Like, any plans for pageants in the short term?
Absolutely. Not letting COVID get in our way. I mean, certainly it has caused us extra work, and we've had to be creative in the ways that we are moving forward and we're able to produce events. Last year, our event, we had to postpone for a few months in order to follow the proper public health relations and restrictions. But we were eventually able to pull off, an altered pageant for last year. And then we look forward to this year. And I know we're still currently in lockdowns right now, but I am hopeful that the numbers are reducing and that we are going to be able to put on an in-person pageant, but we are prepared to move forward virtually if we need to. No matter what, we are moving forward. We want these opportunities to still remain available for ladies, and I'm not going to let something like COVID get in the way. We will make it happen.
That's the attitude. That's the right attitude. It's just adaptation, right? Like, adapting to the situation. That's all we can do right now, and something that we must do for sure. So, Liz, I know that you own Canadian Beauties, and you also own Calgary Pageants. So, is that the same system, two separate systems, just for people to understand a little bit more about it?
Canadian Beauties itself is an all-encompassing pageant company. I really wanted to create a company where girls could come to, and it could be a resource for everything in pageantry. So, yes, we produce pageants, and one of those pageants is the Calgary Pageant System. And there'll be more to come in the future. But we also offer pageant coaching services. We offer MC services to judges. We also provide judging services to other pageants. So really, I just wanted to extend the Canadian pageant industry. Like, it's my passion, it's my love. And so all I want to do is see it grow and see more women have opportunities. So that's really what Canadian Beauties is. A lot of people come and find us initially thinking we're just a fan site because we cover Canadian pageant news. But then they quickly learn about everything else that we have to offer. So Calgary Pageants is under the umbrella of Canadian Beauties because we produce it, but they are two separate businesses.
Oh, okay. So pretty much the Calgary Pageants, it's the pageants themselves, like separate pageants that are in that umbrella of Canadian Beauties, which is the producer.
That's
the
correct.
producing company. Okay, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And then so for Calgary, we produce all the pageants right from Little Miss, starting at 5 years old, and up to the Mrs. category.
That's which is Miss Little Miss Calgary, Miss Teen Calgary,
so
Miss Calgary.
We have 8 7, 8 divisions. So we have little
Only?
miss,
Only?
junior miss, and then miss preteen, junior teen, teen, miss, ms, and misses.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's a lot of pageant. I understand that because one thing that caught my attention was that you ended up being the director of the pageant that got you started.
Yes. That's something that I'm truly honored and humbled by, and I'm not gonna lie, it was always a long-term goal in my brain, but it was like in the back of my head. I had pictured it maybe 20 more years more into my future. I didn't really think it would come to fruition when it did.
Don't say
But
that, Lisa. Don't say the time.
Yeah, I am beyond honored to be able to continue this legacy.
Yeah, and of course you'll do it very well. You've been to a lot of pageants. I know you. I understand you. You probably went to Miss Little Miss Calgary, Miss Junior Calgary.
I
Years
actually
ago.
didn't get started till I was in my teens. So I started with Miss Teen Calgary when I was 14 years old.
Okay, and then you went to Miss Calgary, right?
Yeah, so I competed in Miss Teen Calgary for a few years, getting my experience in pageantry.
Of course.
And then I moved on to Miss Calgary. And then from there, I went to Miss Universe Canada. I competed there 3 times. And then I also competed in Miss World Canada and Miss Earth Canada, placing as 3rd runner-up there. And then took some years off to do some directing with another system that I had for several years, and work in the promotions and event field. And then I came back to pageantry and competed in the Mrs. Calgary pageant, placing 1st runner-up, and then very shortly after that took over that system and started directing. And then, of course, yes, I went to China for Mrs. Universe.
I want to talk about that. Yeah, what happens on the front end and the back end. But I really want to know how, because you started when you were very, very little. You still continued, like you went on to get an education in college, and you have a bachelor's in business administration, right?
I have my diploma in business administration, majoring in marketing.
So why? Because I understand some people think, well, beautiful women, if they start modeling at a very young age, they should probably just continue being models until they jump to television or whatever. So why is that you decided in the middle of your pageant life to go to school and get a career?
Well, I mean, I think it's really important for your future. But I was also really passionate. I'm a very creative person. So marketing was just a really natural fit for me. I mean, when I look back, I actually think I probably should have studied event management in school, because that's really where the niche went in my career. But I very much use my marketing skills because I am the one that has to produce everything for all these different businesses that I'm doing. I truly am an entrepreneur in the way that, like, I don't have a team of people behind me. Some people really think I have like this massive team of people to help do everything that I do. But I'm kind of a bit of a one-woman show. I mean, I have the support of friends and family and some great volunteers that come in to help during the events. But you definitely have to put those skills to use. And I thought it was important to go to school and to get an education. And I didn't see that as something that was stopping my pageantry goals. I thought it was something that would only help bolster my goals within that industry. So I was happy to come back to it after getting some more life experience under my belt.
Definitely, and a beautiful woman has to be prepared as well. Like academically, she needs education, as you mentioned. Lisa, the first time you went to when you went to your first pageant, you were very little. How old were you?
I was 14.
14. Okay, that was just a few years ago then.
Yes.
Now, so did you win that pageant or place runner? Like, what was the final result?
Oh, I absolutely did not place as a finalist in my teen years.
Okay.
I was I'm not actually, I wasn't unsure or shy, but I definitely did not have the skills yet for how to display yourself within pageantry and how to put yourself out as that front runner. Those were my learning years for sure, but I absolutely had such a passion for it. I fell in love with it instantly. I mean, I feel like I made my mark, but I wasn't a finalist in my teen years.
So how do you take it? Because some girls, they can get really frustrated, very sad. Some others just take it as an experience, right? Because it is actually what it is one more experience in life. How did you take it in that? Like, how did you manage yourself to to get yourself together, like all easy?
Well, to me, I've never seen any pageant loss as a loss. To me, every time I go, it's an experience and I'm gaining something out of it. And I have always been very well aware of that. And I think that that's what keeps my perspective on check when I'm competing and allows me to be emotionally prepared for, well, the emotional roller coaster that pageantry very well can be. And it's not to say that I haven't felt my highs and lows in those moments, but I know how to manage it because to me, the crown isn't the win. The crown is the bonus. If you've worked hard enough and they choose you as the winner, it's the bonus and you get to do amazing things with it. But you should be competing for something other than that crown. And that's always what I was doing, because every single time I competed, something new came up. Maybe it was a new job opportunity, a new networking connection, a new modeling opportunity, a business. I mean, so much has come out of pageantry for me. There has never been once where I've had a negative experience that I couldn't have found something to be grateful for.
And those experiences, they teach you, they let like a moral in your life, and you learn from it, and you can still teach that to other girls. In your case, you're a pageant coach, so I'm pretty sure you talk to them about that so that they don't feel disappointed when they, like, if they don't win or they don't get the result that they expected at the beginning.
Yeah. I think that in some ways I'm a bit of a different pageant coach than others because of that. A lot of people focus so much on the winner's mindset, and that's very valid and very important. How can you become the winner if you can't put yourself in the shoes of the winner? Not taking away from that. That is something that we cover with my students. But first, and very first, I always go over the fact that we need to be doing it for more than the crown. What is it that you're hoping to gain out of this? And even if that's just as simple as personal growth, then that's okay. But you need to have a goal that's not the crown on the table first before you can start working towards that crown.
Exactly. And it can happen one year, but if you try later, it cannot happen one year. Maybe it can happen later if you keep trying. Like, I don't know if you saw that speech from the Shauna Barber's Miss USA 2016, that she tried 6 times.
Yeah.
And then I think on the 7th she won.
I'm a believer in coming back and trying again because, again, it's all about personal growth. You will always grow from the experience every time. It can't hurt to compete. Definitely.
Now, from those pageants, I'm probably going to give you time for this to think about this, but anecdotes. I'm thinking, which one has been the most, or the funniest, or the worst anecdote in pageants? I'm not asking you which pageant, please don't say it. And which one has been the best anecdote?
Oh goodness, you've got me stumped here.
Yay.
I don't know. You hit me with one, I'll hit you back with one.
Well, the most recent, I would say, the best and the most recent. No names.
The best and the most recent.
Something you learned, something that turned out being positive for you, something that helped you probably increase your perspective in life, maybe?
I think the biggest lesson is just that you can't give up in any scenario that you're in, right? And I know that that's kind of cheesy advice, or that it's something you hear all the time, but it's something that I've universally seen in every single pageant and every system I'm in. Is you can see when people give up on themselves, and there's just, I don't think there's ever a case where you should give up on yourself. So if there's something universal in the pageant industry, to me it is like, stand back up and keep going. I don't care if you said something inappropriate. I don't care if you fell on the stage. Whatever it is, universally across every system, I think that's standard across all of them. Is just that you have to pick yourself up and keep going.
Exactly. And it's about learning. I think you probably say, well, people think it's cheesy. I personally don't, because we've been talking before, it's nobody's experience is the same, and nobody knows what's happening backstage. We just get to see the girls smiling on the front row, and that's what we see, but we don't know what's happening on the back. So I remember that you said that you wanted to be, when you were a little girl, you wanted to be like Cindy Crawford.
I certainly did. I mean, she was my role model when I was growing up. My room was plastered full of every Revlon magazine ad that she was ever in. She was my icon. And to me, she is still one of the great supermodels of all time. I don't think you can compare many people to her whatsoever. So she still today remains one of my idols. I follow her on Instagram. I look up to what she does, and she's managed her career very well over the years. Obviously, I didn't pursue the modeling path professionally, other than being on the flip side, the backside of it. But I've since then grown into having more than just her as an idol. You know, I've grown to love many of our pageant icons.
Exactly, and you don't have to be exactly like them, right? Which is what I told you. You turn out to be Lisa Harrigan, which is even better than what you expected. And you grew up and you did great things, and you're still doing great things. But of course, people have role models. I need to make sure that Cindy watches this video, by the way.
That would be amazing. Absolutely. That would blow my mind if she watched.
Let me call her.
You know, once when I was a little kid, I loved her husband, Richard Gere, as well in movies. I don't know if I loved him for him or because he was married to her. I'm not sure what it was.
It might have something to do with it.
He was filming a movie on Vancouver Island. And at the time, my stepfather was working in the movie industry and was going to be on set. And I remember how I was just in tears at the fact that I could not go be on this movie set, because what if Cindy Crawford showed up to visit her husband and I missed my chance to meet her? So that's a very vivid childhood memory of mine.
You will never forget that one.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you will have the chance to meet her in the future. Like, you never know, Lisa. You never know.
One day.
Definitely. And you know what? I'm going to tag her, or I'll do whatever in this video. I don't know what I'm going to do. Just trying to make sure that she gets to this part. Maybe a blooper or whatever. Who knows, right?
I love it. I love it.
Now, Lisa, you, as we introduced you, you're a pageant judge. You've been judging pageants for a while now, right? So just for some girls, like, they want to jump into the pageant scene and be part of it. Sometimes they don't know, like, because there's different judges. Everyone has a different point of view, a different perception of what they want to see or find in a girl, or see it on the stage. What does Lisa Harrigan see in a girl when she's on stage and she gives a 10 or a 9.99?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, to be fair, I think I judge differently than other pageant judges do. But I think that's the beauty of a judging panel, is the fact that you have those multitude of different visions of what that winner is. Because I have so much history in pageantry and I'm a coach, obviously I look for different things than, say, maybe a sponsor would. But for me, it's so hard to describe, but there is always a girl that has, as we like to call that, it quality, right? There is something that just speaks to you and you connect to them, and you you cannot put words to it. It just is the girl, right? And I hate that you can't put words to it because, you know, everyone wants to know, what did she do better? And sometimes I think it is that person's mental state. I think it's the aura and their confidence that they are projecting. It's not necessarily a particular physical skill. It is that unbreakable belief in themselves that they are radiating out to the judges. So, I mean, if there's anything that I could say about pageantry, it's confidence wins, hands down, every day. You can trip on that stage and you can still win the crown, because it's not about being perfect. It's about being confident.
Definitely. And you know what? I was talking about that with Matea the other day. And because some people, like when a pageant is finished, you basically, obviously the winner is happy, her family is happy, everything went perfect, but those ones who lost or didn't win, actually, that's the actual word, they just didn't win the crown, which doesn't mean they lost, they would lose. Absolutely. Or they lost. But there's others that start thinking, well, maybe the pageant was rigged and there was a particular preference. So there's a favorite, because you as a judge, when you get to see them all, there's a favorite. Yeah. But it's not because it was rigged. It's because you probably found in that person what you want to see on a stage. So that makes her a favorite.
I absolutely hate the girls throwing out the term the pageant was rigged, because 99.9% of the time that is not the case.
Exactly.
And oftentimes when we're in these emotional states, we see things, hear things, and turn them into something that maybe they're not. In fact, I have 20 plus years in pageantry. I have been behind the stage. I've seen the score sheets. I've seen how things work, and pageants are not rigged. I really feel, at least in the Canadian industry, to which I can speak to, that you do not have that in there. And oftentimes the pageant director doesn't even have a moment to really speak with the judges as to, like, even mentioning girls' names. There is no time. It's hard. No mention. It's amazing how a judging panel just kind of comes together and glues together, and there is this consensus as to who it is. Sometimes it's harder than others because there's a pack of really strong girls, and so that one girl really has to find that way to sneak out of that pack. But usually it's pretty clear who those front runners are right away.
Exactly. And sometimes things can change in the last minute. Like, you can probably have a favorite, and probably something happened on the stage, like this one answered so confidently, this one just, like, they can turn the pageant from, like, give it 180 degree turn.
Absolutely.
Last minute.
So many girls who are front runners, who have the skills and have the potential to take that crown, just not deliver on pageant night. And sometimes that happens. We don't all perform at our best every single time we perform. That's why we need to practice so that we increase those odds. But I mean, look at the past 10 years in Canadian pageantry, and you can, I'm sure, name girls who you were like, how did she never end up with a crown, right? And
totally.
It's just bad timing, bad luck, whatever you want to call it, but they just didn't perform on that day and somebody outperformed them.
That is completely true. Yeah, I've seen that a lot. Especially, like, I would see back home the same thing happening, and everyone would be like, oh, you were the favorite, but nobody says, okay, but you know what, this is what happened. This girl at the end of the final part of the pageant, she did this and that, so the judges changed their mind, and they are the selection committee. They are the ones who decide, right? So whatever they decided, that's what they were there for.
Mm-hmm. I think that there is something to be said about our industry and our girls competing in it, getting to the point where they are willing to accept those results. And I understand it can be hard. Like, a pageant, post-pageant is an emotional roller coaster. You go from the highest of high to the lowest of low in seconds, right? And it's not just about the loss. It's about going from this amazing environment where you're surrounded by girls and support and everything you love to do. And then all of a sudden the next day you fly home and no one's around and you're in silence.
Yes.
You know, and so that affects our emotions quite as well. So it's quite a roller coaster.
I usually see that like when I was the most recent pageants and girls I sent to compete, sometimes I would not reply to my message, and I was aware, okay, she needs time. She needs time she probably doesn't want to be talked about the pageant for a long time. So I'm going to let her be the one responding or sending a message, like a hi message. That means she went through, through that hard path, because it's really hard. Nobody knows it, right? Because beauty queens, they have to smile.
Yeah. It's not something that's well talked about. Because let's face it, in our industry, and in every day with social media, we are always concerned with our image. So sometimes we're not necessarily as honest as maybe we should or could be at times. So a lot of pageant girls never really know that emotional process that you have to go through post-pageant. But the truth is, I tell all my girls, like, just go through it. You'll be okay. Like, what you care about the day after the pageant is not what you're going to care about 2 weeks after the pageant. And then 6 months down the road, you won't even remember the things that you were mad about the day after the pageant, because all you're left with is the good memories and the experiences. So you just have to trust yourself to go through that process and allow yourself to feel those emotions and process it and then move forward. But I think it's important that we give ourselves some constructive criticism and we're honest in that constructive criticism, because there's nothing that's healthy or growing ourselves about saying it's not my fault. It's because that judge hated me, or it's because the stage lights weren't right on the right side of the stage, or so-and-so said something to me before I went on stage and I would blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? At some point, we do have to take some responsibility so that we can grow and be even better in our next experience.
Because it is about learning. Like every day in life, we learn something new, be it in pageants, in your career, like in your professional life, corporate life, your family life. It's about learning. Every day you learn something new, and you have to go through it. Like it's part of the experience of life.
Absolutely. And mistakes help us grow. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. Let's stop being afraid of them.
Totally. That's completely true. Now, Lisa, I want to talk about, because, well, maybe that's your most recent experience in pageantry. I understand you won the title of Mrs. Universe Canada 2019, right? And you had the responsibility to represent the country in China in Mrs. Universe 2019 or 2020?
2019, yeah.
2019.
It happened in December and over the new year of 2020. So it feels like it happened in 2020, but it was technically the 2019 pageant.
Yeah, when I saw the post, I was like, oh, so Liz is spending Christmas in China.
I definitely did. That was a new experience. It was the first time I've been away from family for Christmas, and I was 100% alone in a foreign country that I didn't speak the language in. So it was different. It was a different experience. But to be honest, it was the best Christmas present I could have ever had, because I love pageantry, like 100% through and through. I couldn't imagine spending Christmas in any better way than competing in a pageant.
Definitely. And I see that you're very happy and passionate about that experience. It was a different Christmas for you. It was a Christmas in China, different culture, different sceneries, and probably different people around you, because you would be surrounded by your family in a regular Christmas, right? But instead you spend it with pageant sisters, right? Now, I know that you still had very little time, because when we met at Miss Earth Canada 2019, like a few weeks, or maybe that's what I'm thinking, it was a few weeks, that I noticed that you were going to China to compete for Mrs. Universe Canada. I was like, wow, this is quick. So you had little time to get ready, right?
I had very little time to get ready. I didn't get confirmation that I would actually be taking this title and going to China until November. So I had very little time to get ready, gather sponsors, get prepared. But because of my experience, I really just believed in myself and banked on that I could rely on my experience and I could take this challenge on last minute.
How was it welcoming in China?
You know what? It was kind of a weird welcome in China, actually, because when I arrived at the airport, we all hear stories like the security in China, you really got to take it serious and don't step a toe out of line. And so, I was really kind of a little worried coming into the airport. And we came off the plane and I went to get my luggage and no one was there. It was empty. I'm standing in basically a football field looking around and I can't even see an airplane staff member. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? Where do I go?
Is there even a pageant happening here?
And I'm just standing there literally for 5 minutes in the middle of the airport, not knowing where to go. And I eventually found my way through and there was just one agent that was x-ray scanning luggage as you left. And he was half asleep. And I was like,
what time was that?
I was like, this is not what I was expecting. And then I came out into the area and actually the organizers didn't have my flight with the volunteers. So they didn't know I had arrived. And all of a sudden one of them flagged me down because they saw my sash and was like, oh my God, you must be a contestant. So it was a bit of an interesting and quiet arrival to China. And then I had to wait in the airport about 6 hours or more before our shuttle actually took us to the hotel.
Did you have some food?
I went to a coffee shop and got myself a hot chocolate and a croissant to be a little bit something like home to start with, and got to sit down and actually get to know Costa Rica. We became really good friends. She was amazing. And then after that, I went for a wander and I found KFC in the airport. So I was like, okay, American style food. I can eat some chicken. We can do something with this, right? Little did I know, though, that the Chinese KFC only carries spicy chicken. They don't carry the original recipe plain chicken. So that was a hot experience.
So you left the store crying, pretty much.
Just with a little bit,
eyes.
Yeah.
So they go there, and so they identify you after seeing nobody. What time was that, Lisa? What time do you get to China?
Goodness. I spent over 24 hours traveling to get there from flight to flight to flight, basically. And I think I arrived at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning China time. So I definitely, I think I was one of the very first contestants to arrive on that day. There was only 2 others who were there in the morning, and that's why we had to wait so long before all the afternoon girls' flights started arriving, because we were all taking the same shuttle to the hotel. And the hotel was probably an hour and a half, 2 hours away from the airport, so it was a long shuttle.
So they wouldn't take you, if there's a group of 4 would take you, and then so on. I remember for Miss Grand, they would take, if there were 3 girls or 4 girls, it would take them to the hotel and then back to the airport and so on.
No,
so
it didn't
they
work
would have
like
a very
that.
soft.
They waited till everyone arrived, and then we took 2 shuttle buses all together back to the hotel at once.
How long did you have to wait?
I think I was in the airport about 7 hours.
Did you guys think
long.
about doing?
I wish I could have gotten to the hotel and been able to unpack and just settle a little bit. But I mean, like I said, I knew that any of these kind of things could happen. So I was ready for whatever scenario. I just popped out a book and started reading. So.
Guys, I think you had enough time to make yourselves a pageant between all of you guys, right? As you were arriving, and give special prizes like the earliest, the latest, the sleepier one, the hungrier one.
Well, it certainly was a way to get to know each other quickly.
course. That's a good way to. Yeah, it's good thing is that you had other girls around you, like other women that were, happy to see you as well because you were in the same, probably in the same situation, of course.
Exactly. I find when you're forced in those same scenarios, it forces bonding quickly.
Exactly, and that's a positive thing because those are anecdotes, like group anecdotes, that I'm pretty much sure that you won't forget. So once you get to the hotel, you started rehearsals, you started um, getting everything ready for the pageant.
Well,
In
once
how
we
many
got to the
days?
hotel, we had our registration and check-in, um, which was full of surprises of extra packages and things that you could buy once you arrived, for like photos and private makeup artists and videos and all kinds of things. And then actually this part was the most surprising to me, is they did not have our roommates assigned. So basically it was like whenever you walked in the lobby and you walked up to the hotel check-in, you were like, hey, do you want to be my roommate? And that's how roommates got assigned.
Okay.
Part. However, I somehow one of the hotel clerks had already programmed me in with somebody else. So the girl that I was supposed to be with, what was it? Bulgaria, I think.
Okay.
I can't remember. I can't remember who I originally was going to be, but I ended up with a lady from India. And I would say she's just representing India, but actually there was probably about 20 or so women representing India there. They all just had different sort of regional titles. So there was like a Southwest India and a North Central India and that sort of thing. So she was one of the women representing from India, but I lucked out. I just had the most amazing roommate. Her name's Shweta. We've got great photos together. We made a pact to be each other's photographers for the week. And so I really lucked out with a great roommate.
That's great. I didn't know there were so many. There could be many representatives. So that means if they selected Mrs. Western Canada, Central Canada, Eastern Canada, we would probably have like 3.
I mean, essentially, if you want to go, there is a title that could be created in order for you to become registered to compete. But there was only one official Canadian title.
Oh, okay.
I have seen over the history in the years, sometimes there's been like a Miss Great White North that's been represented, yeah. But not always.
Like the True North.
Yeah.
Miss True North.
But I got to hold the Canadian title, so I'm happy for that.
Exactly, the whole country, which was great. Yeah. So, Lisa, I understand that you also, for some of the competitions, like including the costume competition and the sports, there was something related to sports competition in the pageant. What happened with that, with your outfit? I understand you had some issues with it. How did you manage that?
Well, how did I manage? Well, let's start with what were the issues. My wardrobe did not arrive. So, my evening gown, my national costume, never were able to arrive in China for a multitude of reasons. So I really had to manage by just, going with what I had. And making the best of it. So luckily I had a sponsored red gown with me from Bells and Bows Bridal, and I had my flag for my airport photos and my luggage, and so I put them together to make a national costume. Certainly it's not what I would have expected to be out there representing on stage, but I made the best of what we could do.
Exactly.
Sportswear. The sportswear was actually a surprise for all of us contestants. It was supposed to be a swimwear competition. So we had all arrived with swimwear prepared for our competition. And a couple days before the pageant, we found out that it was being shifted to be a sportswear segment instead. So that was a little bit like, oh,
that was a shocker.
Definitely did not bring stage sportswear clothing with me. I had some stuff to, run to the gym in if I needed to. And so a lot of girls were caught off guard by that. And during our final rehearsals, they had a sponsor that had came and dropped off some fitness clothing. However, they dropped off a box with about, I don't know, I think like maybe 20 or 30 items in it. And there's 90 girls in the pageant, and half of us were off in rehearsals. So I was out on stage when it was delivered, so I had no access to what was provided. But I heard it was quite the war for clothes.
Of course,
when it
imagine
happened.
that.
It was like the frantic, no, this one, I need this, So again, I didn't worry about it. I really just had to be okay with whatever happened and be calm in the scenario and just say, I'm going to do my best with what I have, and that's good enough. So, I used what I had in my luggage with me and did my best. But certainly, I'm a coach. I'm always acutely aware of how the scores add up, what things are going. So knowing that National Costume and Sportswear were worth 50% of our mark, and I did not have the elements I needed for 50% of the mark, I knew I was charging uphill, fighting to make my way there. But at the same time, I was okay, because this was so much more than just competing to me. It was an experience. Not just for me and me as a contestant or as a title holder, but I take these opportunities really serious as a judge and as a coach. It's an opportunity for me to learn, see how other people are doing it or handling it, and what those thoughts are and how to be successful. So to me, competing in a pageant is like going to university. And that's the way I look at it. And I think that allowed me to be so much calmer than I have ever been in any other competition before. Even though there's a lot that I don't talk about and a lot of chaos and last minute stuff that I had to go through that caused a lot of stress, but I have never been that calm in a competition. And that was really actually thrilling to me, to see that all the skills I've been using to put into other people over the years, I was able to put back into myself and utilize them, and it worked.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just a really beautiful experience of taking it all in. I really enjoyed it. Although, I'm gonna say, it was chaotic, it was disorganized, it was it was craziness, as we expect, but to a whole new level. But it gave me a new level of appreciation for our Canadian pageant systems here. I tell you, when girls try to complain to me about the smallest, littlest things at a Canadian pageant now, I'm like, girl, you have it lucky. Don't worry about this stuff. It doesn't matter.
Are you really worried about this? Seriously?
Exactly.
And it's a good point, because many people, as we said before, it's you see the girls on the stage and the decisions they make on their outfit, makeup or hair, and at the end of the day, it's there's a lot of stuff going on in the background, in the backstage, you have no idea about. Mm-hmm. So you have to be in seconds on the stage with your best smile, looking the best you can, for photos, for videos, and for competing. Mm-hmm. This is a competition, so it's not easy.
Oh no, it's never easy, and there's always a multitude of things that's going on backstage that affects people's performance out there, that people have no idea about how chaotic it can be. And so I think it's important that we're not so hard and critical on people all the time, and take the time to think and wonder, maybe why was that choice made, or maybe did they even want to make that choice, right? I think that makes a big difference. It could be as simple as, okay, so why were they wearing those shoes? Well, maybe their heel broke backstage and that was the only other pair they had. So there's a lot of elements that come into play with pageantry that we're not aware of. And sometimes it's not even the choices we make, it's the choices we don't know that have been made for us. So, and
you have to make those choices, you have no other way around it.
Absolutely. You don't have any choices. We didn't have a choice to switch to sportswear when we all brought swimwear. You just had to roll with that and move forward, right? So what could you do? Absolutely nothing. I'll be honest, the sportswear competition was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in pageantry because it was so unpageantry. You know, they really they take a different style to their runway display skills in China, like very, very animated and different to what we do here in Canada. We're very poised, we're very graceful, very controlled. So the sportswear competition was all about, like, they wanted us to do high kicks and jumps and carry sports equipment and be really animated and tiki and it to be like a Victoria's Secret fashion show. And so that was very different than what I'm used to presenting as stage skills. So it challenged me as a competitor to take my stage skills somewhere different.
So Liz, I think you're gonna have to start teaching Taekwondo. All right, that's probably the best next thing to do.
You know what the hardest part about it is actually that I opened the show. Me and this was different too. We competed with a partner. We did not walk the stage solo. We had to walk with another country. So me and Belarus were partners, and we opened the show for every segment. So opened the show in sportswear, opened it in national costume, opened it in evening gown. So it was always up to the two of us to make that first impression on stage. That was an incredible honor to have. I mean, me as a competitor, I was like, yes, like I love this, right? But it was a lot of pressure, and especially a lot of pressure when I did not have the wardrobe to match. So, I mean, to me, I knew I'm opening the show in a national costume that's just a flag. The next person who comes out with an amazing national costume that's creative, they're going to get a higher score than me because, well, I set the bar here and somebody's going to take it there, right? So
totally.
But at the same time, I was so happy and at peace on that stage. No matter what was going wrong or what my wardrobe was, I was just on the top of the world. Like, it was the most glorious big stage that you could imagine, and walking that was incredible.
I saw the stage. It was huge. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I saw you in the blue dress, which has a good stage register. Like, it's a good choice for color, an evening gown. And I remember seeing all that. It was huge. It was a big stage.
It was the size of a hockey arena. So we had to walk the length of a hockey arena down and then all the way back on the stage. And that was incredible. I mean, as a pageant girl, to actually get to really walk a runway was incredible, because as you know, a lot of the times it's like you can take 2 or 3 steps and then make a circle, because that's the size of theater stages, right? This was not the case. It was huge. It was glorious. It was amazing. But it was also, it was a little bit interesting because we were in a hockey arena and it was this big, glorious stage, and then there was like no audience. So there was like a very limited audience that was in there. The arena was nowhere near to even close to full. All you saw was empty seats for the most part, other than the big judges and special guest area at the end of the stage.
Well, that's something that plays in your favor when you're very shy on the stage. If you don't feel too comfortable about being in front of so many people, yeah, and you get to see that amount of people, I guess it's, but some girls are more used to big bunch of people, especially the girls from India, probably.
To play off of, and other people don't. To me, it didn't matter whether it was an audience or not. It was that stage that meant everything. Getting to walk for that long was just absolutely incredible.
That's awesome. Would you do it again, Lisa?
Oh yeah, I absolutely would. If China taught me anything, it's that my competitive spirit is not gone. It just lit a fire under me to want to do it more, because, well, I'm such a competitive person. Like, I love growth. I love improving every time. So for me to be there and know that I didn't get to perform at my best because some things were not aligned just made me want to get out there and compete again, because I want to get out there and compete at the level I know I'm capable of. So certainly that will not be the last pageant you see me in. I will get back out there again. But I have to balance it with being a pageant director and being a pageant coach and dedicating my time to both of those as well.
That's basically, yeah, those are right words at all. Now I have a question, Lisa, and I want you to be honest about it. When you were in China and you asked for water, did they give you cold water or hot water?
Okay. China and water. Okay, it's gonna go somewhere. I've got a story for you. So everything was bottled water.
Okay.
So I was very grateful for that. There was no problem getting bottled water. Anytime we needed extra, we could call down to the front desk and they would deliver us more water. Every time we left the hotel building, everyone was handed out a bottle of water every time. So water was great. That was no problem. That water became problematic at times though, because we would have to get on a bus and travel. One time we were on a bus for almost 4 hours going to another city, but the bus's bathroom was broken and didn't work. So we all had our water and we're all pounding our water on the bus. And then we get stuck in this massive traffic jam. We cannot get out of it.
Oh my
And
God.
it's like 90 girls just like, oh my God, like get me off this bus. So when we arrived at our destination, which was an orphanage, I mean, the girls piled out of that bus faster than you could ever imagine, just running for the washrooms, and the lineup was like deep.
Of course.
And don't get me started on washrooms. We'll circle back to that. But my funny story for you is not about water; it's about ice.
Oh yeah.
Ice was very difficult to get my hands on. One, like the language barrier definitely was a new added element in the pageant for me to have to deal with. And even having translation apps, it doesn't make it that easy because they're not always the right exact dialect. People aren't picking up with what you need. So me trying to translate to the front desk that I needed ice was a week-long process. So like the first night, it took about an hour and about 4 people to explain that I needed some ice. And I needed ice because I was having really severe swelling in my feet. So I needed to be able to ice them to bring that swelling down. And so the first night they came and they delivered me like a cup of ice. And I was like, well, I need more ice than this, right? So they got better and better over the week. Slowly, the front desk people started to get to know me and knew what I needed. So by the end, I was able to get a grocery bag full of ice. But
because they already knew.
Yeah. The hotel did not have any ice machines like we are used to having here. They had to go and unlock the kitchen and make a special trip to find me ice. So that was my fun water story for you, is that it was certainly a challenge just to get my hands on some ice.
And the reason I ask is because when I went to Vietnam and I do the layover in China, and I asked for cold water, so there was a misunderstanding. So I get like boiling water, well, not boiling, but it was really, really hot. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's fine. But I was still like some ice on it. And it was really hard for them to understand that we put ice, that I put ice on the water, especially where I come from is really, really warm. And we put ice on the water. Here in Canada, many people don't even do that. And in China, they don't really do that. They will look at me like, are you from Mars or something? I would be like, yeah, I know, but I still need the ice.
The thing that caught my attention is no matter where we went, there was always a box of Kleenex on every table. It was never napkins. It was always Kleenex and toothpicks. But what you could not get was salt or pepper.
So what are you supposed to do with the toothpicks if you cannot even get salt and pepper or something else?
I don't know. The not being able to access salt was something that actually affected me and was part of the reason why I was having such problems with swelling, is that I had like no potassium and no salt in my diet from the foods that I was eating while I was there. And there's no salt to add on top. And back home, I'll be honest, I'm a salt person, so my body definitely reacted to not having that kind of sodium intake.
Of course. And at some point, I guess you felt unbalanced, like some certain unbalance.
You know,
there?
it's really funny, but I spent 2 days just trying to be able to buy a Gatorade out of a vending machine because I needed it so badly. I was like, I could feel that my body needs these nutrients right now. And it was a process of having to find the right cash, and then they didn't have change, and then the machines were closed. It was a long story, but I spent 2 days to get one bottle of Gatorade, and it was the best ever.
Listen, and there were no McDonald's around.
We
That was a
did
great
have,
opportunity to eat a hamburger.
we did not have access to any of that because we were pretty much in our hotel the entire time, or at the arena later. I did eventually find a McDonald's at airport on my departure, but I was really surprised by the menu there. They only carried chicken. They had chicken burgers, and they had like chicken drumsticks like KFC kind of does, but they didn't even have French fries. They literally only carried chicken. The combo meal was a chicken burger with a side of chicken, and it made me laugh so much.
And your drink was chicken.
I couldn't. By that point, I was like, I've had enough chicken, because that was the only. During finals, they fed us KFC chicken burgers, but we each got one burger, and that's all we had for the day because it was a very chaotic day. And of course, it was the spicy ones that were like burning my mouth off. So by that point, by the time I had gotten to the airport, I was like, I'm so over chicken. So I didn't even order McDonald's.
So you came here and you didn't have any chicken for like months, probably.
I can't remember. To be honest, by the time I got home, I just slept. I slept a lot.
Of course. And jet lag and lack of sleep in China, of course.
It took me about 2 weeks to get over the sleep deprivation and the jet lag. Like it hit me harder than I thought it was going to. Like I normally bounce back from these pageant trips better, but that was a full, what was it? I think it was 14-hour time difference. So
Yes.
it hit me.
And the flight. Do you fly with no, we cannot say names, but yeah, from Vancouver, right?
So on the way there, I flew from Calgary to Vancouver, and Vancouver straight to Guangzhou, China.
Okay.
However, on the way back, I went the opposite way and went from China to Toronto to home. So I technically, literally flew all the way around the earth.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which is kind of neat to say.
So you saw past Calgary and everything and then returned.
Yeah.
Those were some good 4 hours too, right? From Toronto to Calgary. It's a long trip. I mean, wow.
It was certainly long. When I came back, I was in the airport for over, I think it was about 27 hours between all the layovers and the switches and everything till I got back. So that was definitely the most intensive travel that I've ever done.
But it paid off. I mean, you get the experience of your lifetime, the most recent, because you've done this before, and you learned a lot from it. And at the end of the day, you like China, right?
China was very interesting. It wasn't a lot of the things I was expecting, and then in some ways it was. And I never thought that China would be one of the countries I would end up traveling to in my life. So it's really neat to be able to kind of check that off my list of things that I've done.
Exactly, yeah. And it's a once in a lifetime, probably. You never know, right? But
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I always tell everyone, if I can conquer the washrooms in China, I can conquer anything in life.
Right. Yeah, definitely. No, you won, because I didn't mention this, but I'm going to do it now. You won the Miss Friendship Award in Mrs. Universe, right? And that's a prize that's picked by the contestants. Like, no judges have any say on that. It's just the contestants.
I'm honored to have had that award. I've been lucky many times in my pageant career to have picked up the Miss Congeniality Award, but to pick it up when I'm representing my country internationally is absolutely the best. I joke and I love the fact that I lived up to our Canadian stereotype.
Exactly, and it's it's something that Canadians we basically show up to the world, and we basically act in that way, like in a friendly way. There's no reason for confrontations or anything in between, and it's you know it's the standard of one of the standards of the country, which is it's pretty positive from other countries to learn, right?
I'm honored to have been able to display that and to have brought that award home to Canada.
That's completely true. Yeah, I agree with that. Like it's an important. Some people don't really appreciate how important that is, but it's something that tells a lot about your soft skills as a person, what you can actually give to others in terms of personality, in terms of how you treat people and how you behave, because it's really hard in a competition to be picked by the rest of the contestant to be picked as the nicest person in the competition. It's not an easy situation because you're competing. So it's really hard to compete and still be nice.
Yeah, honestly, I was truly humbled and surprised by it because, by that point in time, I still hadn't even really got to meet every contestant that was there. I mean, we tried to on welcoming night, but those bonds hadn't been made yet. So to know that I was able to make that impact on everybody and it was noticeable was amazing.
That's a very positive thing. Now, Lisa, because I know that you will probably do pageants in the future, but now you're in other projects, right? Do you want to tell us something about a project that you're working on, secret or unsecret?
Well, I mean, honestly, I've always got 1,000 projects on the go. There is never something I am not trying to create. And in my brain, there's projects I have for 10 years down the road that I'm already working on and creating in my head. So it's a never-ending process because that's who I am and it's what I love to do. But what's next on the board right now is me getting everything ready for the 2021 Calgary pageants. And of course, I mean, this past year has definitely challenged my skills to a whole new level because, as you can imagine, trying to plan an event in the midst of when you're not allowed to plan events is no easy feat because you can't get answers from vendors in the way that you normally go through the process. So for me, I'm really focused on that right now and creating some kind of a great experience for the girls, no matter what way we have to put that together. And then beyond that, it's just expansion with Canadian beauties. 2020 kind of delayed some things that we wanted to be able to do with that company. And so I'm looking forward to putting those projects and those expansions out. Right now, I'm currently working on a new website for it right now. So looking forward to being able to launch that and just more features and more segments on our social media pages just to keep Canadian fans connected to the industry and connected to what people are doing in Canadian pageants. And then, there's lots of secret projects from there.
Okay. Now, for Calgary Pageants, is there a website if the girls want to enroll?
They can go to calgarypageants.com and they can get all of the information. And registration will open up soon, hopefully in the next coming weeks here, so that we can get ready for 2021. Because as you can imagine, I need to make sure that my pageants happen at a certain time so that our girls are prepped and ready to be able to move on to the next level, nationals, if that's where they want to go.
Exactly, and of course it's really hard, but you can still do it. I don't know if you watched the last Miss Venezuela. They did it online. Well, not online, but it was due to the COVID restrictions. It was not a regular event. They had to do recordings separate, like every girl separate, and then put everything together so that it could still be safe for them. So it's a good idea. I'm thinking.
Certainly, that's one of the possibilities that we're looking at. We've got, essentially, I'm looking at planning 3 pageants for every pageant. So I have 3 different scenarios based on what could be happening with COVID restrictions and what would we do in each of those 3 scenarios. So instead of planning 3 pageants this year, I'll be planning 9, but only executing 3. But it's really the only way to be able to move forward with some confidence in
Yes.
this year is to know that you have things planned. I mean, preparation is key for everything.
That is completely true, and we cannot stop. We just have to adapt, which is a reality of the current situation. Well, thank you very much, Lisa. I really appreciate your time today, and that you were able to share this moment with me after a while.
It's always so good to catch up with you and chat about pageants. I mean, we could easily go on for hours and hours.
Of course.
So I look forward to doing this again in the future with you sometime. And I can't wait until, events start happening again and we can have you come in and maybe be a judge.
Thanks for that. I'll be honored to do it, and of course to have another cup of coffee with you.
Absolutely. I can't wait till the next time.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Lisa Harrigan, Mrs. Universe Canada 2019. And thank you very much for watching. Welcome to another episode of Backstage with Angelo. See you for next time.